Video is over how to divide mixed numbers. We're going to take one of our rules from our dividing a whole number by a fraction and dividing fractions, where you look at the first number, then you rewrite the division expression as a multiplication expression. Some of you use the keep, change, flip, and it works very well. So you keep the first number, you change the multiplication to a division, and you do the reciprocal of the second one. So you're flipping it. So let's look at this one. So let's review what we learned in our previous video. Brenda ate half of a pint of mint chocolate chip ice cream. Mark ate 3/4 pint of malt ice cream. How many times more ice cream did Mark eat? So Mark ate 3/4. He ate many more times than what Brenda ate. So let's figure out how many halves go into 3/4. How many groups of halves? So here's 3/4. How many halves go into 3/4? If I had to predict, there is one group of half, and there's a half of one. I think it's going to be 1.5. Well, let's see. So for those who use we need to turn this division expression into a multiplication expression. So we have 3/4 times, and what do we do here? The reciprocal of it, which is 2/1. So it's 6/4, which simplifies to 3 halves, or 1.5. Hey, it's true. So there's one group of 1/2 in 3/4, and there's a half of a group. So it's 1.5. So Mark ate 1.5 times more ice cream than his friend Brenda. So we're going to use fraction towers here. Use fraction towers to model. You have 2.5. You're going to divide it in half. In other words, you're asking how many halves, how many groups of halves go into 2.5. So here's a half. How many groups of these go in it? One group of a half fits in it. Two groups of a half fits in it. Three groups of a half fit in it. Four groups of a half. Five groups. 5 groups fit in it. So how many halves go into right? So some of you say, I thought when you're dividing, you're getting smaller. So it's saying, how many itty bitty pieces go into a bigger piece? How many can you fit into this bigger piece? 5 groups of halves will make. Check your work. If you have half and a half and a half and a half and a half, 5 groups of a half will add up to 5 halves, or 2.5. Next one. You have 2.5 fourths. How many groups of fourths will go into it? We have 4 groups so far. We have 5, 6, 7, 8 groups so far. 7. So we have 10 groups. 10 groups of 1/4 go into 2.5. Next one, we have 3 and 3/4. How many groups of 1 and 1/4 go into it? One group of 1/4. We have another group of 1/4. And then if you put this one with this one, and then you have leftover one. So we have, seems like we have 3 groups. Let me make sure I'm doing it correctly. We have 1, so this is 3 and 3/4. How many groups of 1/4 go in? We have 1 group of 1/4, 2 groups of 1/4, 3 groups of 1/4. So 3 groups of 1/4 will fit into 3 and 3/4. 3 is the answer. So, again, what are reciprocals? We're going to do this over and over. This is the 3rd time I've taught reciprocal. So a reciprocal is when you have any 2 numbers that you multiply, and it will equal one whole. Another way to think about a reciprocal is the reversal or the flipping of the numerator with the denominator. So 1/5. What's the reciprocal of 1/5? 5. Ooh, this is wrong. 1/5, the reciprocal is 5/1. So what is the reciprocal of 5/6? 6/5. What's the reciprocal of 7/9? 9/7. What's the reciprocal of 4? 1/4. Because 4 1/4. What's the reciprocal of 1 and 3/4? This becomes 7/4, so 4/7. This is 10 1/2, that's 11 halves. Reciprocal of it would be 2/11. So Jamie is painting her house. Each room takes half of a liter of paint. If Jamie has 4.5 liters of paint, how many rooms can she paint? So she has 4.5 rooms. So she wants to know how many groups to have. You could draw this. How many halves do you see here? How many groups have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I predict the answer will be 9. But we could turn this into a multiplication expression, equivalent multiplication expression. So we have 4.5. Do you know another way to write 4.5? What about at 9 halves? So, multiplication expression, you do the reciprocal of the second number. So we have 9 halves times 2, 1 equals 18/2 or 9 whole. Hey, it did work. So if you take the reciprocal of it, you will get the same answer. If you take the reciprocal and multiply it, you'll get the same answer as a division picture modeling. Mrs. Meyer plans to make 14 lemon meringues. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. For the Myers family reunion, she plans to give each loved one 1 and 3/4. 1 and then 3/4 of this. 1 and 3/4. I am not going to be shading this. How many relatives will receive pie? Well, we know it has to be a whole number because it's people. So we know she has 14 and she's going to divide. She's going to give away groups of 1 and 3/4. So how many groups of 1 and 3/4 go to 14? Well, I know I'm going to write this as an equivalent multiplication expression. So I know she started with 14 pies. Multiplication. Do you know another way to say 1 and 3/4? How about 7/4? Take the reciprocal of it, you get 4/7. So what's 14 groups of 4/7? That'd be 56/7 or 8. There are 8 groups of 1 and 3/4 in 14 pies. Or so you get 8 groups of 1 3/4 in 14 pies. For Saturday night, Belinda took home 1.5 cakes from a party. For several nights, she sneaked downstairs at midnight for a snack. At each snacking, she ate 3/10 of the original cake. For how many nights did this cake last? What a pig. So, I don't think I've ever snacked before, ever at midnight, or that late. Hence, the 12-pack right here. So, you have 3/10. How many groups of 3/10 go into 1.5? So how many times can she eat? So, what's another way to rewrite 1.5? I'm going to rewrite it as 3 halves. I'm going to turn this into an equivalent multiplication expression. 3/10, take the reciprocal of it, you get 10/3. So if you multiply, you get 30/6 or 5 whole. So 5 nights. Sheldon is a long distance runner. He can run a mile at a consistent pace of 6 1/4 minutes. I mean, every mile, it takes him 6 1/4 minutes. How many miles can he run in 30 minutes if he keeps the pace? So 30 minutes. I would like to know how many groups of 6 1/4 go into 30. Can I rewrite this as a multiplication expression? I think I can. Do you know another way to rewrite 6 1/4? That's 25/4. If I rewrite it, it would be 4/25. So I multiply. What's 30 groups of 4/25? It's 120/25. If you need to, turn this whole number into an improper fraction. So how many groups of 25 go into 120? It goes in 4 groups. 4 and 20/25. If you break that down by dividing by 5, 4 and 4/5. So you can do 4 miles and 4/5. 4 and 4/5 or 4.8, 4 and 8/10 in 30 minutes. Lourdes got a plant as a birthday gift. Her plant grows an average of 1 2/5 inches every month. How long would it take for the plant to grow a full 10 1/2 inches? So we have 10 1/2. So we know every month 1 2/5, 1 2/5, 1 2/5, 1 2/5. So how many groups of 1 2/5 will go into 10 1/2? I'm going to rewrite this as a multiplication expression. Do you know another way to say 10 1/2? That'd be 21 halves. Do you know another way to say 1 2/5? That's 7/5. But you have to do the reciprocal of it. That's 5/7. If you multiply this, you get 105 over 14.
Yeah.
So how many groups of 14 goes into 105? Let me make sure I'm doing my math correct. That's 21 halves. That's 7/5 reciprocal. So anyway, if you went to Patterson, I know you learned keep, change, flip. You keep the first number, change it to a multiplication. You flip this around. If it is 7/5, you flip it to 5/7. So how many groups of 14 go to 105? I have no idea. I'll say 6 groups for now. No, that's too small. I say 7 groups. And it's 7 groups. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. That's remainder 7. Oh, it's 7 and 7, 14, which is 7.5 or 7.5. If I got to the remainder at a point 0, it goes 7.5 or 7.5 times. So her grow, it will take 7.5 months for a plant to grow. And last but not least, Elsa is remodeling her bathroom floor. She is going to use tile that is 4/9 of a foot long. If her bathroom is 7 1/3 feet, how many tiles will she need? So I want to know how many groups of 4/9 go into 7 1/3. I can rewrite 7 1/3 as 22 thirds. I turn it into multiplication. I do the reciprocal of 9/4. Again, if you went to Patterson, what they taught you is you keep this, you change this, you flip it. So 22 times 9 is 198 over 12. How many groups of 12 go into 198? How many groups of 12 go to 78? 6 times, I believe. Remainder 6. I'm going to get rid of remainder, 0.0. How many groups of 12 go to 60? 5 times. So it's 16.5 tiles. So only 16.5 tiles to make 7 1/3. So in your own words, how do you divide mixed numbers? First of all, what I did is I turned to improper fractions. Some of them, they gave you mixed numbers, so you need to turn it to improper fractions. Then you keep first number. Then you turn, or you change multiplication to division. Or sorry. You change the division. This is asking, how do you divide? You division to multiplication. And then you do the reciprocal or flip the second number. And then you multiply across. And sometimes you will have to simplify. So that is it. So again, how do you do it? Let's go back to when we did our fraction towers. Could we have done this without using fraction tower? How many groups of halves go to 2.5? So I turn this to a proper fraction as 5 halves. I change the division to a multiplication. And I do the reciprocal of the second one, was 2 over 1. And I get 10 over 2 or 5. And I did get 5. And that is how you divide mixed numbers.